amendment number 2 in the name of Senator Ruane.
Do we
Yeah. And thank you, Minister, for being in the Shannon this afternoon. I move an amendment 2 to the bill which would amend section 15 of the bill as passed by the Dáil. Section 15 allows for the Minister for Housing and Local Government to issue regulations allowing a local authority to develop schemes that allow same local authorities to waive all of or a portion of rates due by ratepayers under the bill. The section then goes on to list certain strategies, plans and objectives within different acts which the local authority can use to justify waiving rates for ratepayers. These include plans such as the National Spatial Strategy under the Planning and Development Act 2000. These plans allow for balanced social, economic and physical development across Ireland. Essentially, the local authority is being empowered to waive rights where it means certain existing public policy and urban and rural development objectives set out in the legislation, like the Planning and Development Act and the Local Government Act 2001, and where the waiving of the rate is justifiable to achieve those aims. My amendment therefore adds an extra provision which would allow a local authority to cite charitable purposes in accordance with the Charities Act 2009 as a grounds to develop a scheme to allow ratepayers to apply for a waiver of rates or a portion of rates if it was in keeping with the charitable purposes in the 2009 Act. Examples of these kinds of purposes in the Act are listed in Section 3 and include important issues such as the prevention or relief of poverty or economic hardships, the advancement of education and also more specific issues such as the promotion of civic responsibility, the promotion of health, conflict resolution, the promotion of racial harmony and harmonious community relations and the protection of the natural environment. There are a number of excellent purposes listed in the Act which I haven't mentioned that I'd recommend everyone look at. My motivation, therefore, in tabling this amendment is giving local authorities the space and legislative basis to develop charitable purposes as grounds for exempting groups and organisations engaging in this crucial work that the state needs to support from having the financial obligation of paying rates. In light of the excellent and worthwhile work that they do, these groups do excellent work to support community development and positive change in Ireland and are deserving of at least the opportunity to apply for waivers in rates. I'm thinking in particular of youth groups and premises in local authority areas such as bodies like charity shops. Not charity shops, I suppose, in the retail sense that you might imagine them, but there is some smaller charity shops who see their actual charity shop as a service. So there's, for an example, there's a charity shop in Tala called Manna, and it's run in partnership with two Christian organisations, one being the YMCA and the other being a local church. They only have a turnover in terms of profit of about 1,600 in a year. That is not profit in terms of actual profit, that goes straight back into YMCA activities, but they're being deemed as retail and paying rates that will now have to see them close their doors at the end of July. They did apply to have charitable waived. They applied for that in 2017 and still cannot engage in communication with South Dublin County Council, where they haven't even had a response to that and are receiving sheriff's notices and all of this kind of stuff. It operates in a community where there's a high amount of poverty, where people can go in, engage with the workers there, have a connection to the Christian organisation, also to the YMCA, and also buy clothes at €1 and €2. It's a very worthwhile shop within the Tallaght community. There's also other health and well-being services, I'd say, that were set up during the years of austerity. And you know, I've watched local young men train themselves up in health and fitness to open up locally in the community and provide local jobs, who also wouldn't be seen as charitable but would be seen in terms of the community purposes and the health purposes of a community. And during the years of austerity, lots of these places actually kept people's lives together during some of the most economic harsh realities of them not being able to have control in other areas of their lives. We've seen during the years of austerities people engaging in fitness at a much higher level actually than any other time. Gym memberships went up, engagement with local boot camps, engagement with wellness went up, because it was the only aspect of a person's life that they could control was actually their appearance and how they looked when they lost control of everything else. And there's so many different of these smaller organisations and these charity shops that are not making profit that are being almost forced now, as the economy picks up, out of the local economy, that they were crucial in maintaining during some of the worst, I suppose, period in our generation. So I'm hoping, Minister, that you can look favourably on this amendment in relation to a decent appeals system and waiver system that's transparent and is not operating as the current one is currently, where the charity shops like Manor will close because they are being threatened with sheriffs. Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I mean, you've kind of raised what the issue is. It's when retail comes into it, and I think what's happened is, you know, I'm no expert on local government. I didn't come in here through them methods like others. So, I mean, it's you know, so when they were visited, when some of these shops were visited, it was basically said to them, oh, it says retail there, maybe you shouldn't have had that there. And they're going, we're just trying to be honest, like we're just honestly engaging here, you know. And the fact is, there has to be some sort of limit, like some sort of upper and lower limit on what is actually seen as profit. Like, so the fact that €1,600 for this particular charity shop is seen as profit, you know, is being swept under this idea of the larger charity shops where they're gaining, say, they're paying lots of wages with it or whatever, and this is not the case. So there needs to be maybe some sort of communication with the local governments, or some sort of guidelines that there has to be an upper limit on what actually is seen as profit, but also what is the ultimate goal of a small sum like that. Is the ultimate goal of a small sum like that to pay a wage or to employ someone new, or is the ultimate goal charitable? So even though it's retail, the outcome is still charitable, because then it runs a youth service that is charitable. So it's like, you know, it's about this idea of how flexible can the local governments be without how they actually frame the idea of what retail is and what profit is, and is there something that we can do to give more discretion on how they actually determine what actual profit making actually means in real terms.